How to structure a real estate partnership. So I have done many of these in my lifetime. Now, many in the past, because I started in real estate in 1998, 99, became a real estate millionaire. Then I started doing real estate tours. So I was immersed in the real estate businesses and the structures of partners because I did, from a very specific mentor, I was in 29 states with individuals, and we were doing subject to, lease to own, fix and flips, long-term rentals, short-term rentals, everything kind of in the residential space to start, and then grew quickly into commercial and large apartments. Depending on what you want to do, depending on the strategy, will determine the partnership. So let's break down who is the capital partner, who's the operating partner, who's the decision-making partner. Number two, how do you actually do fair and equal? So what you guys think and most people think is fair may not be equal depending on who's bringing what to the party. So we'll talk about the variables that are absolutely essential to making this deal work and stay sustainable. And last, the legal docs you're going to want to know and never skip over. In fact, I have used to give t-shirts away that say do paperwork or be poor, and this is one of them. In these partnerships, they need to have operating agreements or shareholder agreements. Some facts around real estate and partnerships and how tough they are sometimes. Most partnership conflicts come from unclear roles and undocumented expectations, meaning there's not an operating agreement that gives absolutely clear delineation, a right to correct what happens in real estate, down to how the money's being collected, bank account access, everything. So a common model could be 8% to 10% in a promissory note, a convertible note, or whoever's the operating partner who actually is running the real estate would keep maybe 60 and the money would get maybe 40. So again, that money has to be divided very clearly. Something not talked about enough is who's actually putting up the credit and, if needed, a personal guarantee. Last thing, that's a huge statistic. Lenders will require an LLC with a manager and the documented authority all the way down to the bank account. So let's talk about roles and responsibilities. I'm actually going to read off a lot of these because I don't want to miss a beat on some of the details. So there's either a capital partner. So the capital partner is going to fund the down payment, any of the reserves and guarantees. The operating partner actually finds the deals, manages the rehabs, manages construction, and manages the property management. And you want to put all these KPIs on paper. One of the first and most, interesting activities that I give to, 2, 4, 6 people who want to come together to do real estate deals is everybody on their own, write down each person's name and what you'll each be doing. What are you contributing? What are you going to give? What are you not going to do? What are you unwilling to do? For example, I have some people who want a bigger partner, 20, 30, 40%, but they don't want ever to have their financials be put up. So in that, you have to be really creative because you have to stay under 9.99% to not have to put up your financials. In most real estate transactions, most lenders require it. So then you just have to be more creative about how you put the deal structure together or put your family into the deal structure. You also probably will lose your voting rights with that. So I do a ton of these operating agreements. I talk people through all sorts of scenarios of where they're going to fall apart. Some very specific ones are what happens if you have just 2 partners, one has a trust and one doesn't. The person that doesn't have a trust passes away and the project ends up in probate. What are you going to do then? Or do both partners required to have a trust? Are they also in that same conversation, if they pass, are their heirs going to step in and take the responsibility? Or do they just get cash flow, no voting rights? There's so many what I call micro details that you've got to think through and have someone facilitate through. And so I had some really good lawyers in my young years, but more importantly than lawyers and CPAs, I had mentors. Mentors who lived it, breathed it, and would taught me the ins and outs and the pain and the suffering of what to do. Now, before you get to any of these partnerships, you need to understand what strategy you're playing. Are you going to play on the residential side? You play on the commercial side? Are you actually going to syndicate? How are you going to run this project? So I want to give you an opportunity to buy 75% off my Real Estate is Leverage. So my Real Estate is Leverage is an 8-hour course, about 180-page workbook on how I built what I built. I'd say it's a little bit older and still relevant. I say Think and Grow Rich, very old and still relevant. So there's just some common stock content that you're going to need to know, and don't flip strategies. I see this a lot of times. People come into our big table or into our community. They want to do this kind of deal with this person. They want to do a land deal with that person, RV deal with that person. So you're scattered in strategy and you wonder why it's hard to either get partners in the capital side, get partners in the operating side, because you're asking for 3, 4, 5 different strategies. They don't align to one team. They're spread out amongst a whole bunch of different people, and even more frustrating and harder to deal with in different markets. So you might have something all the way from California to one coast to Florida another coast. How are you going to manage all that if you live right in the middle? You can say, well, I'll fly back and forth. Really? If anything happens, you're going to be probably asked to be on scene. And it's challenging, more challenging than you think. So I'm not putting a rating, like a negative on this. I need you to be mindful and thoughtful before you just jump into a partnership, because it's the easy thing to do. And so many people out here on this internet machine will tell you that go get OPM. It's really easy. Other people's money. It's really easy. No, you're actually responsible for that money to invest it properly, create a return, give them their money back plus the return, and you make a profit. So it's more sophisticated than most of you think. The splits and waterfalls are critical, again, to define in an operating agreement. A lot of times you're going to want a tax strategist to lean into this, because what you have versus what they have could be completely two different tax plans. A lot of times, like when I enter those kind of deals, especially now with the big, beautiful law of bonus depreciation, I want the depreciation and flow through more than I want the cash flow. So maybe I take more of the one side of the assets, somebody else can take the other. And again, fair isn't equal. So what could be fair is actually I get 80 and you get 20. What could be fair is you get 75 and I get 25, or however you want to divide it. But fair is not equal, meaning it's 50-50 all the time. And you really got to look at all the variables of what it takes to do the project. And again, mentors above accountants and lawyers have been my greatest guide in putting these kind of deals together. Now, you're here on my channel. I want you to subscribe, click that notification button, and have me pop in every morning and talk to you for 5, 10, 15 minutes about a topic. And whether it's relating to you today or later, at least you know where to go find it. And if you want to be super, super efficient, go to my playlist, put in what you want to learn about today, and then just binge through the rest of the week on the playlist. If you actually want to binge in total, click on the link inside the show notes, use it so it's very specifically tracked, and you can binge watch 25 hours on my channel, exchange for $750 of credit towards new tuition. So I'm looking forward to working with you, helping you become a real estate millionaire. It's probably of all the industry categories, the one I've helped with the most. Probably right behind it would be author, speaker, trainers, and then all sorts of service-based businesses. So we know how to help you in all those areas. It's not just me. I'm here in the front, and I have 28 other business and financial experts that are part of our team that are going to help you get integrated and get a plan. Again, to do paperwork before the documents you need. You need an operating agreement if you're an LLC, limited partnership. If you're an S Corp or C Corp, you need a shareholder agreement. You need all the proper documentation. You need a tax plan. You need a bookkeeping strategy. If I was you, I really understand self-directed IRA money, and where that can be a huge source of capital and lending ability for you. And then you got to learn the alternatives. Like most things that I do in these spaces are not in the normal channels. They're in the alternatives. I always say anyone that's the healthiest and the wealthiest live in alternatives. So if you have any questions, love to help you. Go to askloral.com, ASKLORAL, ask a question, make a request. We'll be back tomorrow.